Rev up your engine. Old Toyota 4Runners, you see them all over the place. Here's an old one, almost 300,000. It's got another 2,500 miles to go. Why do they last so long? Why do people like them? Well, we're going to go through this whole thing, show you what's left of this one. It's still running, the AC still works. Yeah, the front bumper's rusted. The previous owner tore some of the front off, but it still runs because this one's a 98. As you can see, it's made in Japan. They're still making them in Japan, and they're making them solid. Now they call them SUVs, but as you can see, they're really trucks. Because unlike modern SUVs, these babies have full frames. Look at that frame. This thing is ancient, but it's not rusted. It's still solid as can be. And this is a normal style older one. It's not four-wheel or all-wheel drive. It's just got rear-wheel drive automatic transmission, big old drive shaft. You can see they got a lot of room. You can kind of tell it's more or less based on a pickup truck. You look at the early ones, they look even more like pickup trucks. When you fold those seats down, you got all kinds of space here. But it's still pretty solid. Check it out. It's a 98. Look at the seats. They're not even torn, and they're the original seats. That's kind of amazing. Now, you can see there's a tiny rip here and it's sagging, but hey, all those miles that are held up like that, and of course, it's got one of these steering wheel covers because the steering wheel faded, but I mean, hey, what do you want? And yeah, the paint's faded too. Start her up. It's a Toyota. It starts right up. It's still relatively quiet. These V6 engines can last an awful long time. Now, it is an old design. It's got a rubber tire belt you gotta change every once in a while. And it's a Toyota. The AC still works. Now, recently, he did have to replace the radiator. I mean, it is made out of plastic, so he got almost 300,000 miles out of the original one. He had it done at his uncle's shop. Some uncle, the guy charged him 380 bucks. He didn't even do it for free for his own nephew. What a cheapskate, you know? You realize you can get one of these radiators today. You price around, you get the Chinese ones for about 100 bucks. Change this thing out in about 20 minutes, so hey, boo on his uncle, that's all I gotta say. No, he got it about 3 years ago. He paid $2,000 and then he financed $2,000 in monthly payments. So he paid $4,000 for it, and it even included these fancy wheels. Now, these things are known for ruggedness. They can last virtually forever. The thing that people don't like about them is generally the price. You price a new one, they're super expensive. You look at used ones, they can be super expensive too, but it's because they last so long. So if you whine about the price of one, why not get one like he has? Everything still works. You could get it painted if you wanted. If the engine went out, you could put another engine in. It's had the transmission replaced about 60,000 miles ago, but that's because the previous owner wanted to see if he could destroy the vehicle, and he drove it like a maniac. So he eventually burnt out the transmission. You can break anything if you really want to. I mean, I think the guy was foolish. Why would you want to destroy something? But it doesn't cost that much money to do these over because they're relatively simple transmissions. It's a 4-speed automatic transmission, and of course, it's a big, heavy vehicle. So with a 4-speed automatic transmission and this big V6 engine, 14 and a half, 15 miles a gallon on the highway. These aren't gas mileage machines. Now, the newer ones get somewhat better, but the advantage of this is they can run almost forever and have relatively inexpensive repairs. You rebuild a 4-speed automatic transmission, it's a completely different universe than rebuilding a modern 8-speed or say a Ford 10-speed automatic transmission. If the guy wouldn't have been an idiot who owned it before him and beat the heck out of it, it'd probably still be working perfectly fine. Now it is OBD2, so we're gonna put our scan tool and see what's left of this thing. So we'll plug it in, turn the idiot lights on. We don't want it started, we just want it there. This thing's too old for auto read, you gotta put it in yourself. Do diagnosis. Here we go, and it's called out, so I'm going to start it up, turn the heat on a little, no fault, so let's look at data. Now it is all to 98, so there's going to be limited data, but we'll be able to see some things. It doesn't shake, the heat still works good, The lights still work, even the overhead lights. So here we go with some data. Short-term fuel trim, look at this, minus 0.04. That's almost perfect for an old vehicle. That is 297,958 miles on it. You can see the timing's good because the ignition advance is staying pretty stable there, 15. It's got 0 misfires. The injector's firing at proper milliseconds. There's the total fuel trims. Look, it's 1.012. 1.000 is perfect. You really can't complain about that. Well, you even get some transmission information on this old thing. Kind of surprising. So mechanically and electronically, it's still in excellent shape. Let's take it for a spin. I found something wrong. The door handle is loose now. It still opens it, but I had a 81 Toyota Corolla SR5 that actually had the same color interior. And the same thing happened at its door. So we're backing up. There's no backup camera. This thing's old. He didn't add one. You can if you want. I'm still shocked at how smooth this old thing runs. And away we go. Still got some acceleration left to it. Now, it's an old vehicle. When I hit the brakes, yeah, you got to push them a little bit further down, but that's pretty normal. And got a little bit of play in the steering wheel, but nothing outrageous. I mean, hey, if you had 300,000 miles on you, you'd have a little play in your steering too. Here we go on a little drag strip. We'll see what's left of this thing, but I assume there's quite a bit left. I don't hear any wheel bearings roaring. I don't hear any big creaking or anything like you would in a Ford. And it's a heavy vehicle, but still, it's got a big engine. We'll see what it does when we come to our little drag strip, and here we are. We'll come to a stop, and here we go. It's still got some get up and go. Nice sound, smooth shifting. Well, whoever replaced the transmission knew what they were doing. They put in a good one. Now, it's a heavy vehicle with a big engine, but we're going 40 now. We'll floor it, and look. We're going 60 now, so it's got plenty of passing speed. And being a big, tall truck, you feel totally safe in this thing. Even though it's old, I don't feel like the wheels are going to come off or anything. I'd have no qualms of getting in this thing and drive to California and back. Other than paying for the gasoline, I take my Matrix because it gets about 3 times what this thing gets. And check it out, the cruise control. I just said it. Look, it actually still works. That's a Toyota for you. I mean, this thing is 1998, you know? It's old as can be, but the cruise control still works. Even the light that says cruise still comes on. So, smooth running. We'll turn the cruise off. The only reason that's flashing is because I took my seatbelt off. And look, he did add a Kenwood stereo, but it came with decent speakers in the first place. The back window, it still works. Look at that. Try that in a Ford. It's that old. It still works. Now, there's only one thing strange about that car. It's really a screaming Toyota. When he turns off the radio, it makes this noise. It's the old electric antenna. There's a motor here, and the old electric antenna's broken. It's supposed to go up and down, but it's screaming. So we solved the mystery of the screaming Toyota. It was just the stupid electric antenna. They used to have where they went up and down because, oh, my God, it's so unsightly having an antenna in your car. You want to hide it when you're not using it, right? And of course, people were always breaking them off and stuff. It's just kind of annoying now. Nobody cares. We all use the modern ones like this where it's just built in. I even took the antenna off. It used to hit trees, but the new ones, they don't even need them. Like, and the Tacoma here, that doesn't even have it. It was always made that way. So as we close this case, might have a few faded spots on the front bumper is rusted away. They replaced the back bumper, but let's face the facts. How many vehicles are you going to find like this that have 300,000 miles, that were made in 1998, that still run like clocks? That's why they get so much money for them. That's why people are always looking for them. And of course, the big deal about this one is, as you can see from the sticker, he may be from Georgia, but that's a Texas inspection sticker, so it came from Texas. Hence, no big rust on anything. Not that they rusted in these years anyways. That wasn't a problem the 4Runners had. And the owner just told me, you can't blame this on Toyota. He didn't like the front on it, he changed it off, and he just bought that on eBay and bolted it on. He didn't bother having it chrome plated or painted. He bought it that way. So I would assume if he would have left it alone, it would have looked like the back one that's still shining. And as you might well guess, these are not the original headlights, but hey, let me tell you, there's so many aftermarket parts for these things that you can get inexpensively. You can get all kinds of parts for these things dirt cheap. If you don't go super cheap like he did and get a rusty bumper, you can buy brand new parts for it relatively cheaply. So if you're whining about the price of late model 4Runners, maybe take a delve in the past like he did. All right, you wonder why people buy Toyota Tacomas. This thing has over 319,000 miles, has been in a major front rack, been repaired 100-something thousand miles ago, and it still works good. How can that be? Now you can see it's made in Mexico, or I should say it was put together in Mexico. There's a big deal between putting together and building a whole car. For instance, the engine, transmission, it came from Japan. It wasn't made in Mexico. What's under the hood? Got the ultra dependable V6 engine. These things are super dependable, and since this is a more modern one, it doesn't have timing belts, got the timing chain. All you gotta do is change the oil in it, basically. Now, 319,000 miles and a major wreck later, okay? Not only is it the same engine and transmission, but it still doesn't burn any oil. They don't make them like they used to. I see modern ones, and they'll burn maybe a quart of oil every 1,000 miles when they get older. These were actually the best things that they ever made. And they're so good that he got in a major wreck in Texas where the front was back here. And he found a guy, and the guy says, oh, I can put it back together again. And $7,000 later, now 100,000 miles plus later, it's still going down the road. The guy did a good job fixing them. Realized the guy understood one thing. This is a full frame vehicle. And the guy who did the work checked it out, and he understood, and truthfully so, the frame wasn't messed up. That's the big difference between a solid frame vehicle and a unibody. They handle better because of their design. They weigh less. When they get in a wreck, goodbye vehicle when they're that big. When they're crushed in that much in their unibody, the whole body's all messed up. They're never the same. But if you got a full frame vehicle and the frame isn't bent, everything else, you bolt things on, bolt things off, right? It can be fixed. Now, that's probably one of the reasons that they got away from full frame vehicles. One, it costs more money to make a full frame. They weigh more, worse gas mods because they have more weight. But they do have a tendency of lasting a lot longer, especially when they get in wrecks. Or if you live in northern climates where they throw salt on the road, or if you live near the salt ocean, if you've got a good coated frame and that frame is solid, it can last a long time. Once a unibody vehicle frame starts rusting, that's the end of the vehicle. Right? So they're kind of like the planned obsolescence that, hey, you live in one of those areas, the car will rot away, and then you gotta buy another one. Hey, these solid frames, you take care of them, they can last forever. Now, I know Toyota had a problem with some of these frames because they were buying the frames from an American company. Big mistake. This particular one doesn't have any problem. This particular year didn't really have any problems either, so it's not something you really got to look at. But if a frame is made correctly, it's going to last a lot longer, and you get in wrecks, you can fix them for quite some time. Unibody, no. Kind of like throw it away, buy another car, right? They did a pretty good job. All that smacked up stuff, I'm trying to see if I see anything that even looks weird. They did a good job re-welding, make it look like the original weld. I gotta say, they knew what they were doing. Now, since this is a extended cab, you can see they got all their stuff in here for traveling. There's room for people, nice comfy seats. And they're my favorite. I like cloth seats. They're comfy when it's hot, they're comfy when it's cold. Unlike leather, they don't crack like leather. Hey, I'm just a fan. They hold up longer. You can clean stuff off them easy with some Resolve spray and get the dirt or stains off of them. They do last longer than most other seats, especially the modern, what they call faux leather. They give it so many names. Mercedes, I guess, calls theirs Mercedes leather. Okay, it's not real leather, right? It cracks. And the fake leather, it generally cracks even faster than the real leather does. So, if you want something that's going to last a long time, get fabric seats. They're comfy, they last a long time, and you don't have to think about them. Now, it wasn't a massive wreck, but check it out. Aside from the paint coming off, these are the same rims. Look, they've been to heck and back and they're still rolling smooth, right? You can't say that about modern aluminum alloy wheels. You get in a wreck, you're gonna crack those babies. It's gonna cost you a fortune. Now, it's got enough towing power for what he uses it for, towing 5x5s and stuff. It's not a heavy duty like a Tundra with a V8 engine, but in a pinch you can pull stuff that you need to pull with because it's got the V6 engine. That's one thing. If you're looking at these, if you're serious about doing any kind of pulling or towing, don't get the 4-cylinder engine. It's underpowered for that. The 4 is perfectly fine for a knock-around truck. My daughter-in-law has one, and they use it for fixing up all their properties, hauling paint and everything, but they don't really tow anything with it. They use their other Tacoma over there. That's the one that they use to tow. It's V6 and it's a 4x4, so it won't get stuck out in the country in the land. That's 319,000 miles, so get the old scan tool out. See what it says. So I'll turn the key on. Well, stupid alarm systems. It already detected it. Do a standalone diagnosis, and it's read the VIN number. It knows it's Tacoma 2007, and as you can see, it does have 319,000 miles. I'll do a full scan, and while we're looking around, still in pretty good shape. No cracks on the dash. Nice basic heating and air conditioning. Hot, cold, yeah, that's what I like. I can adjust it with my finger. All right, here we go. It's got 7 codes. It's all, I'm sure a lot of stuff like the traction control, ABS may or may not work. Right front speed sensor circuit, left front speed sensor circuit. Okay, that's the front that was all smashed in. We're going to erase the codes and see if any of them come back after we take a road test. With this many miles on it, the system may have just broken down, or in the wreck it may have broken and not worked, or maybe they fixed it but they never even reset the codes. Who knows? We'll find out after a road test. Now we got airbag code SRS, passenger seat airbag active mode indicator. Well, it's still got seat belts that work. Who knows if anybody ever reset it? So we'll erase that too and see what happens after a road test. And the last thing is the tire pressure monitoring system. You never expect them to work. The batteries are certainly long dead in all the wheels unless you replace them. No data from 1, 2, 3, or 4. I'm sure the batteries went bad a long time ago. You don't want to spend money to replace them. Yeah, use a tire pressure gauge. Now we'll erase these, but I'm sure these will come back after we drive, because I'm sure they're just, the batteries are dead in all of them. When it's this many miles, the batteries just wear out. Fire her up and we'll take it for a spin. Boy, you put in a nice Alpine unit. Didn't come with that. Still idle smooth as silk. Smooth shifting transmission still. The suspension, hey, it's still in decent shape. They did a pretty good job putting the front back together. I wouldn't really have noticed it was wrecked by driving it. Here we go down to back of road. Really smooth shifting. With this many miles on it, nobody's coming, so up we go. Now it is a 6, not a 4, so it's got quite a bit more oomph, or it should at any rate. It does have 319,000 miles, so here we come to a stop. Nobody's behind us, and go. Whoa! Yeah! That's what vehicles are like before the days of everything being slowed down by traction control and all that stuff. And hey, this isn't a vehicle with 319,000 miles that still doesn't even burn oil. Now, if you're ever wondering how these things can go 1,000,000 miles and more, now you can wonder less. It's called good build quality. And this one wasn't even made in Japan, it was made in Mexico. Now, this does have a relatively aggressive tire pattern on it, so I can hear a little tire noise on it, but that's about it. I'm also kind of shocked at how well this thing tracks down the road, considering that the whole front end was smashed in almost all the way to the windshield. And I'll turn it off and we'll see. Did any of the codes come back? All right, here we go, fault scan. 71% done, and none of them came back. So here we have it, a vehicle with 319,000 miles, still runs like new, burns rubber. The front used to be here when it was in a wreck, put back together again, and it still runs this good. Now, personally, I doubt that even the modern Toyotas will never make it to this level of mileage and time, because their dynamic force engine has 2 fuel injection systems, GDI injectors with 1,000-something PSI. These injectors are like 45 PSI, a lot less pressure. Stuff is going to break, a lot more plastic on the modern ones. I doubt if they'll last as long as these old ones do. But you can see, if you got a body on frame, even in a wreck, you fixed it. Something like this shows you how Toyotas can go 1,000,000 miles. They were so well made. Still doesn't burn oil at 319,000 miles. Now, Honda makes pretty good vehicles, or at least they used to, right? But I've never seen a Honda that had 300,000 miles with a V6 engine that wasn't burning oil. This baby isn't, because that was really the pinnacle of Toyota's engineering in these things. They don't make them like they used to, and just think, they won't have V6 engines anymore. They're pulling them out of these cars and going to turbo 4s, and I guarantee you when they get old, they'll burn oil, the turbos will break. It'll be a rat's nest to fix them when they break. When this is still a relatively simple vehicle to fix. If it ever does break down, it hasn't broken down on him yet for 319,000 miles, so that's saying a lot. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.